So in Afghanistan, it doesn't just happen sometimes. It's a regular part of the culture for men to have young boys as sex objects.
They're calling it Afghanistan's dirty little secret. It's a huge deal, and it's not a secret. You will be amazed by this story.
Yeah, that's next. You're listening to the Armstrong and Getty Show. And watching on the Bay Area's TV 50. You are listening to the Armstrong and Getty Show.
This is a really, really interesting piece of writing by Joel Brinkley on the Chronicles website that I came across several days ago. Western forces fighting in southern Afghanistan had a problem. Too often, soldiers on patrol passed an older man walking hand in hand with a pretty young boy. Their behavior suggested he was not the boy's father. Then British soldiers found that young Afghan men were actually trying to touch and fondle them, said a military investigator named Anna Maria Cardinali. The soldiers didn't understand. All of this was so disconcerting that the Defense Department hired Cardinali, a social scientist, to examine the mystery. Her report, Pashtun Sexuality, startled not even one Afghan, but Western forces were shocked and repulsed. For centuries, Afghan men have taken boys, roughly 9 to 15 years old, as lovers.
Boy, 9 is a little kid. I mean, not that it makes any difference, but...
Oh, my God.
Jeez.
Some research suggests that half of the Pashtun tribal members in Kandahar and other southern border towns are bachabaz, the term for an older man with a boy lover. Literally, it means boy player. The men like to boast about it. Here's a 42-year-old gentleman in the Baghlan province, quote, "Having a boy has become a custom for us. Whoever wants to show off should have a boy." Baghlan province is in the northeast, but Afghans say pedophilia is most prevalent among Pashtun men in the south. The Pashtun are Afghanistan's most important tribe. For centuries, the nation's leaders have been Pashtun. Hamid Karzai, the president, is Pashtun from a village near Kandahar, and he has 6 brothers. So the natural question arises, has anyone in the Karzai family been bachabaz? 2 Afghans with close connections to the family told me they know at least 1 family member and perhaps 2 were bachabaz. Afraid of retribution, both declined to be identified, would not be more specific for publication.
When I hear the term pedophilia, I think of a kink. An aberration, a kink, a compulsion for an adult to have sex with a child. But this just sounds like this is what everybody does.
Yeah.
Which sort of by definition makes it not an aberration or a kink.
It's accepted and they like it. And it's widely accepted.
And you say half of them are doing it in Kandahar. Do the other half want to but can't? Do the other half think it's disgusting?
Maybe they can't afford it.
Where do these boys come from? Who do they belong to? Where are their parents?
As for Karzai, an American who worked in and around his palace in an official capacity for many months, told me that homosexual behavior was rampant among soldiers and guys on the security detail. They talked about boys all the time. I didn't see Karzai with anyone. He was in his palace most of the time. In Kandahar, population about 500,000 in other towns, dance parties are a popular, often weekly pastime. Young boys dress up as girls, wearing makeup and bells on their feet, and dance for a dozen or more leering middle-aged men who throw money at them and then take them home.
Anybody who read The Kite Runner knows that scene described very well, although I thought it was some sort of sick, twisted aberration.
Subculture, yeah.
A subculture and not the culture. The mainstream. I didn't know it was the mainstream.
A recent State Department report called Dancing Boys, quote, a widespread culturally sanctioned form of male rape. So why are American NATO forces fighting and dying to defend tens of thousands of proud pedophiles, certainly more per capita than any other place on Earth? And how did Afghanistan become the pedophilia capital of Asia?
Yeah, people talk about Bangkok, Thailand.
Oh, please.
Afghanistan's where the strange sex is going on.
Sociologists and anthropologists say the problem results from a perverse interpretation of Islamic law. Women are simply unapproachable. Afghan men cannot talk to an unrelated woman until after proposing marriage. Before then, they can't even look at a woman except perhaps her feet. Otherwise, she is covered head to ankle. How can you fall in love if you can't see her face, said a 29-year-old man. We can see the boys, so we can tell which are beautiful.
But why children? Why not other adult men?
Because they're not as pretty. I've seen adult Afghan men. They're not pretty. Listen to this. Even after marriage, many men keep their boys, suggesting a loveless life at home. A favorite Afghan expression goes, women are for children, boys are for pleasure. Fundamentalist imams, exaggerating a biblical passage on menstruation, teach that women are unclean and therefore distasteful. One married man even asked Cardinale's team how his wife could have become pregnant. When that was explained, he reacted with disgust and said, "How could one feel a desire to be with a woman who God has made unclean?" This helps explain why women are hidden away and stoned to death if they are perceived to have misbehaved. Islamic law also forbids homosexuality, but the pedophiles explain that away. It's not homosexuality, they say, because they aren't in love with the boys.
I don't fully understand the culture, though. So do these boys grow up to be respected members of society who have boys themselves? Are they
permanently damaged victims? The researcher says there's no more horrifying issue, more deserving of our attention than this. I'm continually haunted by what I saw. The only quote from one of these boys is, one boy in the tow of a man he called my lord told the Reuters reporter, "When I grow up, I will be an owner and I will have my own boys."
See, that's what I was wondering. All these guys who have boys, were they boys at one time that belonged to somebody, whatever that means? Where are their parents? Are these orphans? Did they buy them from their parents?
It's work. I think it's work. Kids out there making a living.
And the parents of the kid are cool with that?
Apparently.
There's from the text line, PBS Frontline documentary called The Dancing Boys of Afghanistan. You can watch it online. It deals with this topic, disturbing stuff, especially since they are our friends, the Afghanis.
Yeah, we've actually got a link to that at ArmstrongandGettyRadio.com if you'd like to check it out.
I may watch my first TV show online. Because I would like to see that.
Congratulations.
That's interesting, because when I read The Kite Runner, there's a couple of scenes in there that are just, I remember one, I got to it, and I could see what was coming, and I didn't read it that night, because I thought, I just can't handle reading this tonight, and read it the next day. If I had known this, it would have been a little easier to take, in that it wasn't, because I thought, why does he have to put this in here? Is this just like to add drama to the story, or thought it was a little too much? No, that's the norm. That's common. If half of them are doing that, that's just the culture.
Right. So we mentioned before the way corruption isn't even the right word. The way the Afghan economy works, the way things get done, seems to Western eyes to be corruption. Then you add this just perverse view of men, women, sex, children, etc.
They cover up women so that they aren't sex objects and have sex with little boys.
Right.
How freaking twisted is that?
Right. And so we're supposed to somehow band with these people and turn them into what? You know, the other thing I was thinking the other day, we're going to get them a stable, functioning government that's strong enough to not let Afghanistan become a haven for Al-Qaeda, etc. That's more or less the goal. I was thinking about this the other day. Right next door in Pakistan, they've been a country for many decades now. They got freaking nuclear arms. They've got an army. They got big cities. They got one of the biggest cities on earth, Islamabad. They can't do it. They can't control their tribal regions. Half of them don't want to.
Yeah. Our phone number is 1-866-331-TALK. I know, because I read The Kite Runner, there are a lot of Afghani expats who live in the Bay Area. That's where they settle in The Kite Runner. Guy wrote the book lives around here.
They're not diddling boys in the U.S., are they?
That's a question I got from the text line. Do Afghanis come to the United States and continue this tradition? 1-866-331-TALK. Does anybody know that? You're listening to the Armstrong and Getty Show. We've got some people on the line and some text regarding this article in the Chronicle about men who have boy sex objects in Afghanistan. That's the culture. That's the norm. That's what people do.
That's horrifying.
That's the culture we're trying to support, I guess.